AITA for asking for my $50 a parent owes me for looking after 6 children. We agreed on $300, but my mom only paid $250. Next time I'll cause chaos with the kids at a family party. So this happened over the weekend and I am still trying to decompress from what was, without a doubt, the most chaotic night I've had in years. For context, I'm 24 and have been babysitting since I was 15. I've seen it all: teething babies with fevers, 3 siblings under 5 during a snowstorm, twin toddlers with separation anxiety, and one infamous birthday party where the birthday boy cried because his cake wasn't shaped like a T-Rex. Point is, I know how to handle kids. I come prepared, I'm certified in CPR and first aid, I bring games and snacks, I don't sit around scrolling TikTok while the kids run wild, I actually babysit. Now, my mom was throwing a huge 50th birthday bash for herself this past weekend. She went all out. And when I say that, I mean caterers, DJ, bartenders, themed cocktails, rented furniture, the works. The party was being held at my parents' house, this massive, modern home that could easily be on the cover of a luxury lifestyle magazine. Naturally, there were going to be a lot of guests, and among them, a lot of parents who didn't want to hire their own babysitters or leave their kids at home. A few days before the event, my mom casually asked if I'd be willing to watch a few kids during the party. Her exact words were something like, "It'll just be a handful of well-behaved kids hanging out in the den, and you'll be right here at the house, so it'll be easy." I asked how many kids, and she said around 6, ages 5 to 11, and they'd be children of her friends. I made it clear that I'd treat this like any other babysitting job. I wasn't just helping out, I was providing a service. She agreed, and we started talking payment. I suggested $60 an hour. That might sound like a lot, but considering there were going to be 6 kids, it broke down to just $10 per child, per hour. Extremely fair for an evening event during a party where parents would be drinking and I'd be completely responsible for safety and entertainment. My mom balked at the rate and said it was too much, especially since the kids were older and independent. I pushed back, reminding her I'm not a teenager doing a favor, I'm an experienced babysitter. Eventually, we compromised on a flat rate of $300 for the evening. That would cover the full 6 hours, from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m., and I even agreed to knock down the price from what I'd usually charge. She reluctantly agreed. Saturday rolls around. I show up early with a backpack full of activities, coloring books, Uno, puzzles, snacks. I'm prepared. The house is already buzzing with staff getting things ready, and guests start arriving just after 5. One by one, parents start dropping off their kids with me. I'd expected, at the very least, a basic introduction. You know, "Hi, I'm Rachel, this is my son Max, here's my number in case you need anything." Nope. These people acted like I was a camp counselor and they were late for their flight. No one said a word to me except to say, "He's allergic to peanuts," as they walked away. One dad just gestured at his daughter and then disappeared into the crowd with a drink in his hand. By 6 p.m. I had 6 children in my care. 6 very sugar-fueled, party-hyped, overstimulated children. And the idea that they were independent was a joke. Within the first 10 minutes, 2 of the boys had already started a Nerf war in the hallway, a little girl spilled a can of Sprite on the carpet, and another kid kept trying to jump from the back of the couch onto a bean bag like it was a wrestling ring. These were not easy kids. These were kids in party mode, unleashed in a massive house with a stranger they had never met. I spent the next 5 hours breaking up arguments, drying soaked clothes, because they sprayed each other with water guns, inside, consoling a girl who lost her stuffed animal, it was under the couch the whole time, stopping a boy from sticking a glow stick in an electrical socket, and trying to get them to eat something other than cake and gummies. They were hyped on sugar, sleep-deprived, and feeding off of each other's chaos. At one point, I caught a kid trying to sneak into the party area to get more candy from the bar. Another had unwrapped every single snack in my bag and thrown the wrappers behind a chair. I asked one of the parents, when I finally tracked her down near the chocolate fountain, if she could come talk to her kid who was refusing to stop hitting another boy with a pool noodle. She literally laughed and said, "Oh, that's just how he plays." By 10:30, I had finally gotten them to wind down, changed a few of them into pajamas, and tucked them into makeshift beds in the guest rooms and couches. I was exhausted. I smelled like frosting and baby wipes. I'd been used as a human jungle gym. My throat hurt from repeating myself all night. My legs hurt from chasing a kid who thought hide-and-seek meant actually hiding from the adult in charge. Around 11, my mom came up and said, "You can head out now. The kids are all settled." I said goodnight, packed up my stuff, and left, relieved, honestly. I got home, showered, and was just about to crash when I checked my phone. A Venmo notification popped up from my mom. She'd sent me $250. I was confused. We'd agreed on $300. I opened the note and it said, "You left a little early, so I adjusted the payment. Thank you again." I just stared at my phone. I left early. As if I abandoned the job. I stayed until 11, the agreed end time. I only left because she told me I could. And even if I had left 15 minutes early, which I didn't, that wouldn't void the flat rate agreement. We'd both agreed to a flat rate in writing. I even gave her a discount for my standard rate. Now I'm sitting here debating whether to send her a Venmo request for the missing $50. It's not just the money, it's the principle. I gave her a discount. I wrangled 6 hyper children in an unfamiliar space while their parents got drunk and danced under disco lights. I worked hard. I fulfilled exactly what I said I would do. But then again, it's my mom. And she's already acting like I should have done it for free because you were just at home anyway. I don't want to cause drama, but I also feel incredibly disrespected. Would I be the asshole if I sent her a follow-up Venmo request for the $50 she agreed to pay me? What would you do? Update 1. So, after a couple of days of sitting with it, thinking, rethinking, venting to my group chat, writing then deleting 4 different drafts of what I wanted to say, I decided to send the Venmo request for the missing $50. I figured I'd keep it light and polite, no drama. I sent it with a message that said, "Hi Mom, just a reminder that we agreed on $300 for the night. I stayed until 11 as discussed, so I'm requesting the remainder of the payment. Love you." That was it. No attitude. No guilt trip. No passive aggression. Just a straightforward, calm reminder of the deal we made and the hours I worked. I didn't think it would be a big deal, she's my mom, and we literally had the agreement in writing. I truly thought she might have just forgotten, or assumed I'd left earlier than I did and would send the rest without any pushback. About 10 minutes later, I get a notification. Not money. A full-on paragraph. Like, a solid brick of gray text in my messages. She told me she thought I ducked out early, and that, watching a few kids in your own house isn't worth $300 anyway. She claimed she was being more than fair by giving me $250, and then added that any other family member would have done it for free. She emphasized that it was just helping out for a few hours, and I was lucky to be home, warm, fed, and not stuck in traffic somewhere. I sat there rereading her message over and over, honestly stunned. First of all, I didn't duck out early, I was told to leave at 11 by her. I didn't say, "Okay, I'm done now." I stayed until all 6 kids were asleep, cleaned up as best as I could, and then left when I was told my services were no longer needed. I didn't clock out early, I didn't disappear, and I definitely didn't leave her or her friends' kids unattended. And then the line about watching a few kids in your own house. That felt like such a slap in the face. Like I wasn't actually doing anything. Like I was just lounging on the couch in sweatpants while kids quietly read books around me. As if managing 6 sugar-drunk, party-hyped, overstimulated kids in a loud, chaotic house wasn't actual labor. As if I hadn't brought games and snacks, dealt with a literal indoor water fight, separated physical fights, comforted crying kids, and kept all of them alive while their parents got plastered downstairs. As if I hadn't spent the whole evening doing crowd control in a luxury home filled with fragile decor and way too many sharp corners. And then came the real dagger, any other family member would have done it for free. That line hit me like a truck. Because it wasn't just a statement, it was a guilt trip, a subtle emotional manipulation wrapped in the guise of family loyalty. The idea that because I'm her daughter, my time and labor aren't worth anything. That it's somehow shameful or ungrateful of me to ask to be paid for a job she asked me to do. I replied, trying to keep it together, and reminded her, again, that we had agreed on a flat rate. That I had worked the entire time. That I wasn't just hanging out, I was responsible for 6 kids, none of whom were mine, in a house full of party noise and distractions, with no help, and no introductions from the parents. I told her it was frustrating that not only did her friends not acknowledge me or say thank you, but now I was being penalized for sticking to the agreement. Her response was cold. She said, well, if it was so hard, maybe you shouldn't offer next time. And that's what finally broke me. Because I hadn't offered. She asked me. She came to me. And I agreed because she's my mom and it was her big night and I wanted to help, but I also wanted to be respected for my time and effort. I gave her a discounted rate. I tried to be professional. I showed up. I delivered. I didn't argue after that. I didn't push. I didn't respond. I just let it go. Because what was I going to say that would change her mind? That would make her see the difference between being a supportive daughter and being taken advantage of. So no, I didn't get the $50. I never got the thank you. I never got a follow-up from any of the parents. And yeah, I'm still pretty hurt. Because it wasn't about the money, it was about what it represented. That my time, my boundaries, and my work are only valuable when it's convenient. That the moment I try to stand up for myself, I'm seen as difficult or ungrateful. That if you do something, in your own home, it somehow doesn't count. I didn't want to ruin the relationship over $50, but it definitely made me feel like I was being taken advantage of. Update 2. Fast forward 3 weeks later, and we've got my cousin's baby shower, except calling it a shower is almost insulting to what this actually turned out to be. Of course, it wasn't just a gathering with cupcakes and pastel streamers. No, it was yet another episode of Mom Throws an Extravagant event. This time, she had rented out a vineyard. A full vineyard. With a private barn decked out like a Pinterest fever dream. There were hanging floral installations, a charcuterie table the size of a minivan, monogrammed wine glasses, a harpist playing covers of Taylor Swift songs, and signature cocktails named after the baby. I showed up thinking I'd be a regular guest, eat a few canapes, say congratulations, maybe sip one of those overhyped cocktails and leave with a candle wrapped in tulle. I was dressed for it, too, flowy dress, nice boots, not at all in babysitter mode. But as soon as I walked in, I saw the signs. Little shoes by the door. Juice boxes lined up next to the wine. A suspicious amount of stroller parking outside the barn. My stomach sank. I should have known. Right on cue, before I'd even had a chance to get a drink, my mom spotted me and beelined across the gravel like she was making a surprise entrance on a talk show. She greeted me with that overly sweet tone she uses when she wants something and slipped her arm through mine as if we were just going to admire the decor together. Then she said it. Hey, so a few of the parents brought their kids, and I was just thinking, since you're here anyway, would you mind keeping an eye on them like last time? You already have experience, and they all love you. The audacity knocked the wind out of me. I looked around and counted at least 7 kids already running around the vineyard patio area, one of them trying to climb a decorative barrel like it was a jungle gym, another chasing a peacock that definitely wasn't supposed to be part of the party. And yet here she was, acting like this was a minor ask. Like she was doing me a favor by offering this magical opportunity to spend my afternoon chasing unsupervised children through rows of Cabernet grapes. I immediately said no. Not this time. I wasn't going to be the default childcare solution for every luxury party she threw just because I happened to share her DNA. I told her I came as a guest, not staff, and I was not about to be roped in again to mystery babysitting duty while everyone else sipped rose and pretended their children didn't exist. But my mom doesn't like being told no. She switched gears into persuasion mode, telling me it would be so easy this time, that they already knew me, that the kids were older now, and it's not like you're doing anything else today. I reminded her that if she wanted a sitter, she could have hired one like any other responsible event planner. And if she expected me to do it, my rate would be $500 flat for the evening. Yes, it was a jump from last time, but I'd learned my lesson. I wasn't going to undercharge for glorified crowd control at another cocktail-fueled party in the middle of nowhere. She laughed. Not a gentle laugh, but one of those, oh please, don't be ridiculous, laughs. She said, don't be dramatic. We can figure something out after the party, just help for now. That was the final red flag. Figure something out after was code for, I'll guilt you into doing it and then pay you in vague gratitude and maybe a leftover centerpiece. I told her I wasn't agreeing to that. I made it clear. No yes, no maybe, no we'll see. Just a direct, firm no. She rolled her eyes so hard I thought she might give herself whiplash, then walked off muttering something about how she couldn't believe I was making a scene. I wasn't. I was standing in one spot, hands by my side, calmly refusing to be exploited. Again. The party went on. Guests arrived. The harpist moved on to a hauntingly beautiful version of Blank Space. Someone made a toast about motherhood being a vineyard of love or some nonsense. Meanwhile, the children were predictably going full Tasmanian devil mode, chasing each other around tables, knocking over decorative lanterns, dipping their fingers in frosting when no one was looking. I saw two of them try to feed a goat with cocktail napkins. It was chaos, pure and uncut. A little after sundown, when things really started to spiral, kids getting overtired, two of them crying because someone pushed someone near the fountain, guess who comes crawling back? My mom. This time, no sweet voice. Just urgency. Panic in her eyes. One of the kids had started screaming and she couldn't find the parent. Another had wandered into the vineyard rows and wouldn't come back. Suddenly, I was the only person in a 100-yard radius qualified to handle this situation. And against my better judgment, and because I didn't want to create a scene at a family event where people were now giving speeches and filming TikToks, I finally agreed. But not without a mental note to myself, this is the last time I let her put me in this position. And if I'm not getting paid fairly, I'm not breaking my back to keep up appearances. I'm not running around like a trained professional while parents get tipsy and pretend this is some charming European afternoon. So I changed my approach. I didn't enforce strict rules. I didn't organize activities. I didn't intervene unless someone was bleeding or looked like they were about to fall into the koi pond. I sat back, sipped a Sprite, and let the kids be kids. I didn't offer to track down parents when fights broke out. I didn't play hide and seek or mediate arguments over iPads. If they wanted a babysitter for free, they were going to get what they paid for. That night, I decided to become the fun babysitter. Update 3. So, as predicted, it didn't take long before the chaos crescendoed to a level that even I, in all my years of babysitting, hadn't quite seen before. There were 8 kids in total by the time I took over. A couple of them were the same ones from the last event, the Nerf snipers and water gun warriors, while the rest were new recruits, equally wild and equally unsupervised. Their parents were, of course, nowhere to be found. Or rather, they were off sipping lavender spritzers and taking group selfies under a floral arch while their children were left to roam like unsupervised festival gremlins. But this time, I wasn't going to wear myself out. I wasn't going to run around like a camp counselor begging them to settle down. I wasn't going to exhaust myself for zero appreciation and uncertain compensation. This time, I leaned into it. No, scratch that, I collaborated with the chaos. If I was going to be a free babysitter at a wine-soaked social event dressed up as a family celebration, then I was going to do it my way. The first thing I did was raid the summer-themed decor bin that someone had lovingly arranged near the welcome table like it was sacred. It was clearly curated for aesthetics, meant to quietly reinforce the party's breezy vineyard getaway vibe. There were hibiscus-printed napkins, woven palm fans, and several straw baskets filled with props that screamed "Look how effortlessly casual we are." Nestled among the faux driftwood and floral drink stirrers, I found my holy grail, a package of brand-new, pastel-colored plastic water guns, still sealed in their crinkly plastic, untouched and begging for trouble. They were clearly meant for photo ops, probably meant to sit untouched beside a chalkboard sign that said something cute like, "Sippin' and Sproutin'." But I didn't care. I cracked the pack open with the urgency of a mom opening baby wipes during a diaper blowout and handed them out to the kids like a benevolent god of mischief. No disclaimers. No, ask your parents first. No reminders to aim low or stay dry. Just the quiet glint of rebellion in my eye and a whispered green light to unleash their most chaotic selves. The reaction was instant. The first kid to grip one in their tiny hand gasped like I'd just handed them a magical artifact. Then came the chorus of delight, full-bodied squeals, clapping, bouncing, a stampede of bare feet across the grass as they tore off in every direction. They flooded toward the nearest beverage station, where they eagerly jammed their tiny weapons into ice water buckets and started spraying anything that moved. Their targets were indiscriminate: each other, bushes, decorative pillows, a "baby love" chalkboard sign, the occasional ankle of an adult passing too close to the battlefield. I watched a 5-year-old sprint behind a deck chair, pop up like a soldier in a trench, and soak another kid right in the face with terrifying precision. One of the older boys invented a scoring system on the spot based on distance and volume of shriek elicited. Another started dual-wielding, spinning in circles and yelling like he was defending the Alamo. Within minutes, water was flying, kids were slipping in the grass, and someone was yelling "ambush" from behind the mimosa bar. It was pure, beautiful anarchy. Next came the whipped cream snowballs. I scouted the dessert table and, after noting that the adults were still absorbed in their endless conversations about Montessori preschools and international toddler shoe sizing, I quietly snatched a few paper cups and a stack of plastic spoons. Then I reached for the forgotten can of Reddi-wip hiding behind a crystal trifle bowl like it had done something wrong. With my tools in hand, I gathered the kids around and gave them a quick tutorial. Load the whipped cream into the spoon, flick it as hard as you can, and aim for your teammate's cup, or honestly, wherever your chaotic little heart desires. At first, it was tactical. Focused. Kids lined up, trying their best to fling fluffy globs of whipped cream into neatly placed solo cups 10 feet away. But accuracy was never the point. The second someone missed spectacularly and the cream splat against a nearby folding chair with a satisfying splat, all bets were off. Laughter exploded like a firework. One of the younger ones began launching spoonfuls straight into the air, watching them arc like frosting comets. Another, emboldened by the madness, smeared a handful directly into his friend's shirt and then ran for his life. Whipped cream quickly became war paint. Some smeared it under their eyes like football players. One girl tried to sculpt hers into a snowball hat. I watched in awe as a particularly creative 8-year-old turned 2 spoons into catapults and set up a 3-point firing station using overturned flower pots and sheer determination. Someone accidentally hit the side of the dessert tent, where a decorative sign now read, "Welcome Baby Lynn," in drippy, sugary loops. The kids roared every time something missed. They doubled over when someone got hit. They collapsed in the grass, sticky, breathless, euphoric. Then came the piece de resistance. The adults' only cheese board. It was positioned on a long oak table like a sacred altar, backlit with fairy lights and lovingly arranged like a still life painting in a Tuscan villa. There were hand-labeled wedges of aged Gouda, truffle brie, and manchego. There were glistening honeycombs resting on rustic slate slabs. Figs halved with mathematical precision. Grapes cascading in gentle curls, sprigs of rosemary poked in at precise angles. The crackers were fanned out into concentric circles, with edible flowers scattered just so. It was all so unnecessary. And entirely forbidden. The kids had been watching it all afternoon like it was a golden idol behind glass. Every time one wandered too close, some adult would swoop in with a reminder that this was grown-up food. One child got physically blocked by someone's handbag. Another was shooed away like a fly. You could see the hunger and injustice mounting like a pressure cooker. So, we staged a protest. In the corner of the barn, tucked behind a pile of throw pillows and unopened diaper raffle cards, was an arts and crafts station. Meant for guests to write well wishes for the baby, it had everything we needed: cardstock, markers, glitter pens, and tape. We got to work like revolutionaries drafting manifestos. I gave the kids free rein. Within minutes, the signs were born. Snacks for all, no brie without me, kids want cheese too. Then, in what might go down as the single most chaotic 5 minutes of my entire babysitting career, we raided the adult picnic area while chanting in unison, "No snacks, no peace." One of the younger kids launched a gummy bear into someone's wine glass with surgical precision. Another tried to play tag through the rose garden and ended up faceplanting into a hydrangea bush. I honestly thought someone might faint. The adults were horrified. My mom looked like she was halfway between an aneurysm and full cardiac arrest. Guests were dodging whipped cream globs and stepping over plastic leis as if it were the aftermath of a parade thrown by caffeinated raccoons. And in the center of it all, I stood with my arms crossed, watching it unfold like the general of a very tiny, very chaotic army. Eventually, my mom stormed up to me, red-faced, trying to keep her voice low but failing. She demanded to know what I was doing. I shrugged and said, "Babysitting, just like you asked." That was the moment I knew I had officially crossed the threshold from helpful daughter to family rebel. But I didn't care. Because I had spent years being the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who cleaned up quietly and never complained, and where had it gotten me? Underpaid. Underappreciated. And constantly expected to do more under the guise of being family. The event limped toward its end. Kids were covered in sugar and sweat, holding soggy paper signs and still munching bits of Gouda and crackers they'd managed to smuggle off the forbidden table. My mom didn't say another word to me that night. She just shot me the kind of look that could strip paint and muttered something to a caterer as she snatched a wine glass off a kid's hand. I left when the sun dipped behind the vineyard and the sky turned the dusky pink that usually makes people sigh in satisfaction. But not this time. This time it looked like the set of a food fight-themed reality show. The next morning, I woke up to a Venmo notification. My mom had sent the full $500. No partials. No deductions. Just $500 even, with a single note, "Don't ever babysit at my events again." Honestly, best payment I've ever received. That night, I decided to become the fun babysitter.